My name's Andrew Squilari, and as a lot of you do know me, I've been around Dacxi since day one in Australia, and a lot of people have known me personally, become very, very good friends, and I'm grateful that all of you are on the webinar tonight. I'm very privileged to introduce Ed Ludbrook. A lot of you guys already know him. You've seen him in the Customer Welcome Guide as the owner and founder of Dacxi, and he's doing some fantastic things with Dacxi globally. And I know that he's really keen to see Australia explode. And look, by the numbers that are joining the webinar tonight, I think we've hit that tipping point. And there's a point in all businesses where it goes flat, 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 then just goes very good. And we're following that Bitcoin second boom adoption rate now. So we are doing really well with Dacxi, and I'm very grateful for the leadership that Ed has given me and the Dacxi team. But tonight we're going to go through the report that he wrote last week. A lot of you guys, I'm hoping, have read that report, all about the Bitcoin Halving event. I hope you popped a bit of champagne Monday morning, 7 a.m. when Bitcoin halved. It's another 4 years to the next one. So I might hand it over to Ed. Thank you very much for joining, Ed. I really appreciate your time and energy and your knowledge that you're going to share with everyone tonight. So welcome to the webinar, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you give me can I see a big thumbs up? Well, that's fantastic, guys. Look, I really appreciate it, and it's exciting to see. This is, by the looks of things, it's the largest webinar we've ever had. And it's sort of reflecting what's happening at the moment. The sort of numbers, as far as the business have been rocketed. We've had the record start to the month. Literally, we're 150% over April already, after only about a third of the month, which is oh look, it's pretty exciting, and it's sort of you can sort of understand it when you understand what's happening in the space. It's not surprising. I read the Australian Financial Review every day. I read the Sydney Morning Herald every day. And just to get an appreciation of what's happening in Australia. I can't wait, hopefully, till when they make this Anzac bubble, which will allow me to go over to Sydney. Unfortunately, we started to build our Sydney office, and then all this thing happened. So poor old Lawson has been stuck there on his own, and we had to cancel a whole lot of the employment program that we had. So it'll be good to be able to do that. Actually, New Zealand comes out of lockdown tomorrow, thank God. So finally my kids can leave and go back to university, and hopefully my food bill will halve. It's incredible how much 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds eat. So that'll all be good. But the reality with all that happening is that it's going to now, the focus is going to go off this virus, and it's going to have a look at the economic impact. Okay. And so when it actually comes to the marketplace, the reality is that over the last probably 2 months, the focus really has been on the virus and less on the economics. There's been a lot of talk about the economics, the impact of what this virus thing will happen. In reality, and this is one thing that we often say, is that we've been saying, Squid's known me long enough in talking about this. I've been talking about a correction in the marketplace for quite a long time. And so that's what we're looking at the moment. And tonight, what I want to do is to not talk about the economics. I don't want to talk about Australia. I don't want to talk about Dacxi, and I don't want to talk about any of that. All I want to do is I want to may take about 15 minutes to go through to really help you understand what this halving means. Now, whether this is for you, whether you want to talk to someone about it, or just act smart down the pub if the pubs are open, okay? The reality to understand when they talk about this halving is that it's one of the most significant events in the crypto space for at least 12 months. And also, the other important thing to understand is it's not a it's not like an event which goes bang, okay, and everything changes. Okay, it's not. You don't look at this and go, okay, what happened going into the halving? Because the halving's already happened. It happened a few hours ago. It wasn't a matter of going into that and saying, okay, bang, everything's going to change. It's not like that. It's what it is. And what's more important about this, it is a strategic change in the industry. It's like if a major stock exchange. It's like if the London Stock Exchange announced their crypto platform, or if you can imagine the Australian Stock Exchange. Imagine if the ASX launched a crypto platform. There'd be a lot of buzz before that, but its real impact would happen after that, as major financial institutions in the Australian marketplace then got into much larger investments in the crypto space. Does everyone understand what I mean? It's as an event, it's important, but its impact happens afterwards. And really, when you understand how that works, it's quite a good thing, because it actually creates a lot of interest, and people then, like you guys now, is that you can listen to what's happened and understand and appreciate what's happening. So what I want to do is I just want to share some slides with you, and just go through a short presentation to explain how it all works, and then I want to talk about how this can impact you, and answer any questions that you have. So can you all see that screen okay? Can you give me a thumbs up and whatever? Okay, cool. Tell me if you can't see anything. So the real key, and this is that, look, all knowledge is about answering questions. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer, right? And so here, what we want to do is we want to look at, Bitcoin halving is all very well, but is this the catalyst to the second crypto boom? That's the real question. And so when we have a look at this, what we need to understand about Bitcoin, I literally don't know. I'm just going to assume you know very, very little. And so, look, Bitcoin is just digital money. The exciting thing really is that it's independent of governments. There's a fixed amount of coins, which is very unusual, given that, the Australian dollar, they're printing them like crazy. Well, they're printing currency across the world like crazy. And what makes it secure is a thing called a blockchain. And so when we look at Bitcoin, what are the key things to it? You've got what are called miners, and they create Bitcoins, okay? And they create them by using computers to solve functions to confirm transactions. And we're going to talk around the concept of mining, not in any detail, but just enough so you go, okay, so that's how the system works. Because I don't know whether anyone's ever explained the system to you. So I'm going to do that in a very simple way. So what happens is that, you have miners who create the system, and they create coins. You've got exchanges where you can hold on to your coins or change them from Aussie dollars into Bitcoin. You've got wallets. It's where you actually hold them on exchange or personally. And lastly, you've got this thing called cryptography, which actually is the thing that sort of secures the whole system. So look, can you see that? To me, that's really like the key things, okay? So if you can see here, you've got these users, one green, one red. Can everyone see that? Can you understand? Because I want to be so clear about this. So you've got users, and they have a wallet. So you've got two wallets there, and then you've got a thing called a full node, okay? And I'll explain all of this in more detail. And then you have a miner, and then you have what's called the blockchain. And the best way to understand what a blockchain is It's just a database. It's just it's the next type of database. So all it does, it's a ledger that records a transaction. So if I send you some Bitcoin, or if I in fact send you some money, then what happens is that's a transaction. And a blockchain is a database where it lists all of those different transactions. I send money from me to you, certain amount, certain time. Does everyone understand that? Everyone got that? Yeah? Okay, cool. So imagine this, okay? So this is the green wallet, okay? So this is me. I've got in my green wallet, and I send some Bitcoin to Squid, who owns the red wallet. Okay, so the transaction is I'm sending 1 Bitcoin from me to him. Okay, simple transaction. Now that may be because I just want to share some value with you. You know, I may send you some money, or I may buy something. Let's say I buy something and I can spend 1 Bitcoin. You need to understand you can spend a tiny amount of Bitcoin, up to 8 decimal places. Does everyone get that? So like literally can be micro cents as far as the amount of money. All right. So the next thing is what happens is that transaction of me sending that. Okay. That transaction of me sending that, what happens is the transaction is sent to what's called a full node. Okay, and the wallets do this normally. It sends the information of the transaction to a full node, and what happens is the complete database is held by the node. So you send the transaction to the node, okay? It actually will send it to a number of them, up to 8 of them, and so suddenly they have a copy. And what that node does is that node then sends the transaction to a miner, and the miner's job is to confirm that transaction. So what happens is that someone has got to say, I own so much Bitcoin and I have enough Bitcoin to send 1 Bitcoin to Andrew. Does everyone, so they need to check, do I have it? And if I have it in my wallet, then it's okay for me to send it to Andrew's wallet, and someone has to just say, hey, that's okay, all right? And then what the miner does is uses a thing called hash power, and you don't need to know how, you know, the technicalities of that. And their job is simply to confirm those transactions. And then by doing that, what happens is the miners then agree that that transaction is valid, and they put it in a thing called a block. And a block is basically just 10 minutes of transactions, okay? And what they do is by confirming that block, and that's, once that's confirmed, you can't change it. And then what happens is they start another block. And after 10 minutes, they start another block. And after 10 minutes, they start another block. And that's why it's called a blockchain. Got it? And what makes Bitcoin unique is the fact that you can't change. Once that block is confirmed, you can't change it. And therefore that transaction is, you can trust it. And the system is called a trust engine because that's why it works. Now, if you send some money from the Westpac to the ANZ, it's the banks that confirm that transaction, not this database. And just the ability to do that means that all I have to have is a wallet hooked up to the internet. And if I do that, then it's simple for me to transfer money, and it doesn't make any difference how much money I send. It doesn't matter where the other wallet is. So suddenly if I want to send, $1 billion of Bitcoin to someone on the other side of the world, it literally can take me seconds. And it doesn't make any difference whether I send them 1 cent or $1 billion. It's always the same, and it moves at the speed of lightning. And that's why they love it. And the reason why it works is because of this, of these things called miners. And the miners are basically an electronic machine. Those racks there, this is called a mining farm, and they're not just, sometimes people talk about it and they say, oh, well, it's basically just people with laptops. Well, that's what it used to be like in the old days. It's not now. Mining is done by very sophisticated, huge organizations, and they look like that. Okay, and imagine massive organizations with all these different mining machines, all looking to confirm all of those transactions onto the blockchain. All right, so that's miners. And so you can't really see this very well, but that is an analysis of the Bitcoin transactions. And you can see that you probably can't see very well. I'm very sorry. It's actually when it's made large, it's too. But you can see that's $100 million worth of Bitcoin in 1 week. Got it? It's $100 million of Bitcoin in 1 week. And that's based because the amount of Bitcoin they get for mining is always the same. The difference would be what? So what's the difference? The difference would be what? If they get the same amount of Bitcoin, the difference in how much they receive is based on the price. Okay? And so the reason why the Bitcoin halving is important is because the number of coins that the miners receive is halved in number for doing the same work. Okay? And therefore, what the miners have to do to pay for especially their electricity and their machines, is they have to sell those coins in the marketplace. And if you can imagine, the world of crypto is dominated by, is impacted dramatically by the amount of coins that have to be sold every week. The miners have to sell their Bitcoin because they have to pay for the electricity and the machines and the stuff, those big mining farms that you can see. And so if they received half as many coins, obviously the value of Bitcoin sold in the marketplace will obviously naturally halve in value. If the price doesn't change, the value of it will halve. And that's the real thing. That's the only thing you really need to understand, is the fact that the amount of coins sold in the marketplace will actually, the value of it will decline. And if that declines, how will that impact the price? Well, if you have the same buyers and sellers and you have less sellers, what happens to the price? Does everyone get that? So the logical thing is for the price to go up, okay? And so when we look at the Bitcoin halvings over time, so you had the first, so you have Bitcoin launched in January 2009, okay? And for every 10-minute period, 50 new Bitcoin were created and shared by the miners. The first halving happened in 2012. The second halving happened in 2016, and the third halving happened today, which is 2020. And the reason why they halve the number of coins is what? Can you think of why they would halve the number of coins? The reason they halve the number of coins is because if the number of coins was unlimited, it would mean, if the number of coins was the same, then what happens is that is that obviously they'll run out of coins. Got this? This way, because the numbers halve all the time, in the future, obviously that, you know, the amount of coins that's issued is very small. And what I want to do is to just show you the impact, okay? So this coin here, this graph here, this graph was what happened from the start of the numbers, okay? This is from the start of the numbers, and in May 2013 through to the second halving, okay? So the second halving was in July 2016. And you can see that in the year and a half before that, it started, you know, steady growth, and just going into the halving, the price started to rocket, okay? Then after that halving, for the next 12 months, you can actually see from July 2016, so that's where the red is, you can see through to July 17, the price went up dramatically, okay? It went up dramatically, and it went up because the value increased, okay? Can you see that? You can see the value increased, and that's what they're saying, is that it's one of a factor that impacted the price. I remember that boom in 2017, and it was just, as I said, the halving is just a factor. What it does is it reduces the number of coins that are sold in the marketplace. And when you imagine this is where all the new coins come from, it has an impact on the market. And if we look further, if we look at from July 16, which is when the halving was, right through 18 months later, by the end of 2017, the price of Bitcoin had actually grown by 3,000%. That was the first crypto boom. Super exciting, and that's fantastic. And so what we want to do, as I said, the question you need to have in your head is the halving the catalyst? Will this impact the market such that it'll have the second crypto boom? So what I have in front of you is the graph that obviously from the start, you can see July 2013, you see that big spike in price at the end of 2017, start of 2018. You have the correction then, okay, the correction into the marketplace, and then you have the others. And what's important to understand is, this is what I want you to see. You see that action there. I can tell you that when it started to move in July 2017, obviously I was around there. July 2017 is when we actually founded Dacxi, if you'd like to know. That was the month, all right, in July 2017. And the reason why I want you to understand is that it's the equivalent of there. And it's hard to believe that I would say that little squiggle at the bottom is equivalent to what's been happening over the last year or so. But what you need to understand is that if you look right off to the left-hand side of this graph, right down in Jan 2014, you can see a little pimple. Well, that little pimple there was considered the most dramatic boom in Bitcoin. And the key thing to understand is what they say is the current boom makes the previous boom look like a pimple. It is so large. And so I did this graph. In reality, that's the graph that you've just seen, okay? And that's that big curve that you saw, the boom in 2017, okay? And what we're talking about is this. And we're talking this because of the value. The fundamentals, so long as you always do, if you think short term, you never get this. You've got to understand the fundamentals. You've got to understand that you're buying a trend, okay? And this means that Bitcoin is expected to go through its next hyperbolic curve. It's about the halving. It's about the financial institutions being involved. It's about the major consumer organizations from around the world that are now like Amazon and others who are now taking. It's like the New York Stock Exchange has a partnership with the coffee company, which Starbucks. So the plan is for all Starbucks in North America to take Bitcoin for a payment in association with the London Stock Exchange. So the key thing is the fundamentals are there. We're just looking for the catalyst. And people go, oh, well, how do you know it'll go that far? And the only way you can look at this, the only professional way, is to actually go and say, well, what is the use case for this? How much will it be used? And Bitcoin, I think, is a terrible currency, actually. But as a store of value, as a digital gold, it's fantastic. It's better than gold. And that's why people like Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, turns around today and says, hey, look, the thing you should be buying is not property, which is, he's the property guy. It's not property. He says you should be buying gold and crypto, gold, silver, and crypto. Because he said it's all about store of value because they're printing the money. Gold as a store of value is a $5 trillion asset. And so if Bitcoin was just 2 trillion, even though it's a better gold than gold, and you've got 20 million coins out there, then that's how you end up with, in US dollar terms, $100,000 per coin. In Aussie, I'm not sure what it is in Australian dollars. But it's about $130,000 or $140,000 a coin, something like that. And that's 1,200% growth. And that hyperbolic move is why people should be buying crypto today. Do you understand? That's the reason. And when we look at it, the big lesson that we try and tell people is not so much to buy Bitcoin. Because what happens, it's smarter to not buy Bitcoin. It's smarter to buy what's called a portfolio product, to actually buy not just Bitcoin, but to buy the other two big blue chip coins, which are Ethereum, Litecoin, okay? Because if you do that, what's happened is we have proven, we prove that it got proven in the last boom, okay? In 2017, if you had bought Bitcoin versus buying a portfolio of these three big coins, what we call a bundle, if you had done that, you would have earned actually 100% more. When we looked from the end of April this year, back 1 year, okay, when we looked at that, even though the price has been going up and down, all that sort of stuff, if you'd bought this portfolio bundle product versus Bitcoin, you would have earned over 100% more by doing that. So my point to you is this, and this is the end of the presentation, guys, okay? This is the end of the presentation. Bitcoin is really simple, okay? And that's its real power. Its use case is so clear. It's a store of value. It's a store of value, okay? And in these chaotic times, you need to put your money in the store of value, okay? You don't put it in the bank. I had a discussion today. This guy, he was asking me about what he should do as far as what he should do with his money. He's a friend, and he owns a lot of properties in the UK and in New Zealand. And I just said, dude, just don't buy property. And he goes, yeah, but I said, you've been buying property for 20 years. Don't buy any property. You've made a lot of money. Stop buying property. And he said, what should I buy? And I said, I don't know how many times I have to tell you to just buy crypto. And he goes, Bitcoin. And I said, no, don't buy Bitcoin. You need to buy a portfolio of the three biggest coins, because you'll earn 100% more than if you just buy Bitcoin. Okay? And he goes, you know, an hour later, I turned around and said, I'm getting really sick of telling you to just do that. And I know you're fighting, and I know it's difficult. And the challenge is you have to do it substantially. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does. You know, some people are pretty determined to, when he's got such great returns from property, both in the UK and down under, he's got some great results, and it's fantastic. But it's not smart. It's not smart. All right. So, guys, can I answer any questions that people have? Have I done that much of a great job?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You've talked about the bundle.
Yep.
Let's talk about the DAC coin itself.
Yep.
The smarts of investing in the DAC coin itself rather than the bundle.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the thing is that there are three big. I was having a big discussion about this yesterday. Look, there are three big use cases. If you look at crypto, there are 98%, 97, 98% of all the value of every crypto in the world is held by the top 10 coins. Okay? The other thousands are worth like 1 to 2, 1 to 3%. And those three use cases are as a currency, so it's like remittances, store of value, as a Web.3, which is like a new internet, which is Ethereum, okay? And the third one is a financial ecosystem. And so they have to be a global, unique financial ecosystem. And the only really ones around that have any sort of uniqueness or power, if you ask me, is one called Binance Coin, which is one of the top 10 largest coins in the world, and Dacxi. And the reason is you've got to have a very unique model. And so the difference between a bundle, so a bundle is the large, already established, mature coins, with some DAC coins, where if you just bought DAC coins, the value there is that it has probably a 10 times better upside. So DAC coin has a much larger potential upside than a bundle. Probably, my research says around 10 times more value, but it's smaller, it's newer, it's not as established at all, and that's where the value is. But you actually, when you look at a coin, the reason why you got a long answer, okay, is because when people look at things like this, they don't appreciate that you have to look, the coin is just a digital dots and ones and zeros, right? It's nothing. It's like what is, it's the demand that comes from the ecosystem that's underneath it. And in 5 years' time, does that, is there the opportunity for that ecosystem to become highly valuable? After all the crap's gone down, it's like a huge amount of the sort of coins that are trying to be payment coins, they're going to be worth nothing because there'll only be 1, 2, 3 coins that are going to win, and all the others will get in trouble. And so when I have a look at the financial ecosystem coins or community coins, the competitors to Binance are in the shit. I probably shouldn't say that, but they are. It's like, because they're not unique, what they're not trying to do, what we're doing. What we're doing is a very niche, it's unique, but it has, you've got to have a model designed for that marketplace. And it doesn't concern us that other companies are ahead of what we're doing, because we're not in that race. That's the whole thing. Good luck to them. I wish them all the best. We don't compete with Binance. They're the best exchange in the world for traders, but we're not in that marketplace. The biggest institutional exchanges in Australia, they're in trouble because the ASX will take them out. When the ASX lists crypto, they're in trouble. But for us, we don't care. We good luck to them. We have a very specific, unique niche, and because of that, we have such strong long-term value that every month the marketplace will understand, and they'll especially understand by later on this year, you know, when we take the coin and externally list it, which we will do this year. We at the end of the year, we've made the decision internally that this coin must be listed by the end of the year. We just, for credibility terms, and because we need the coin to support the global expansion of Dacxi. Like, our coin is unlike the vast majority, 99.8% of all crypto in the world, they just launched the coin because they wanted to raise some money. For us, the coin is a fundamental element of our ecosystem that will allow people from all over the world to invest in new innovative opportunities.
Okay, so that's our ecosystem. Our ecosystem, the Dacxi ecosystem, is really the potential, as you've just described it, of let's just call it venture capital, just to call it something simple.
Yeah, and look, the reality is that if you're smart, you don't just restrict your customers. You don't just restrict them to being able to, you know, buy crowdfunding, innovative. You want them to be also able to buy crowd lending and those other opportunities. That's why we talk about that. But the reality, what will be the key driver of our space is the fact that we have a model that no other crowdfunding company on the planet will be able to compete with. And it's such that, because if you think of a crowdfunding company, the great problem with a crowdfunding company in Australia is that they're in Australia. Okay? They're in Australia. And with all due respect, it's hard to get innovation funded in Australia. You want to go to Silicon Valley because that's where you'll make the money. But we'll have a funding organization that will be more powerful than Silicon Valley, because it's all about what's called decentralized finance. And so, you know, it's not a boast. It's just a fact that there are
reality.
Yeah, there's just a lot of people in the world. And with all due respect to things, there's a lot of people in the world. And as I use an example, our tech team, our CTO, both his parents are dentists. And in fact, he trained as a dentist first. He just didn't ever want to be a dentist. He just did it for his parents, like some of us do. And as I said, you know, if they had this great idea on the Dacxi network, every dentist in the world would be able to send them $500. And it wouldn't make any difference whether you're in Uganda or Poland or Korea or Tasmania. You'll be able to, everyone will be able to send them $500, which you just can't do these days. And I tell you what, teeth are the same. Where, you know, if you've got a smart dental tech idea, dentists everywhere in the world understand what you're talking about. I normally talk about orthopedics because my father was an orthopedic surgeon, and knees are the same whether you're based in New Plymouth, New Zealand, or you know, or in Morocco or Mongolia or Canada. It doesn't make any difference. And no one's ever put all of those together. And that's what I'm saying. We have a structure to create a unique innovation network. And to do that, we need a big crowd. We need a platform that's very unique around the world, and we need a crowd of people. And today, right today, there is a very unique opportunity whereby someone can buy assets which are blue chip assets. Like, you know, Bitcoin has a value of over $100 billion. If it was a share, you know, it is of the scale of BHP. All right, these things are massive. Even Ethereum is a $20 billion US dollar asset. So these are huge assets. And the fact is people can buy them before this next boom. In a year or two, you won't buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin will be like gold. You won't buy it. It'll have moved to its high thing, and it'll fluctuate maybe 50% or whatever. But at the moment, you can buy it, and you know, and it is very credible to say that it'll end up with a value in Australian dollars of $130,000, $150,000 a coin, and you can buy it today for what's $13,000, $12,000 or something like that. Like, there is nothing like that in the world, but it won't last. And that's what I keep telling you, it won't last. It won't last. And when it's gone, that opportunity, that investment opportunity will have gone. And that for Dacxi, we don't mind, because we will, by that time, we would have pivoted, moved into all of these other areas. If you're with another exchange, what are you going to do? All they do is crypto. Good luck. And it's a very different space. And that's why our coin is not trapped in the world of crypto. Our coin's job is to be a real currency, which will, in 3 years' time, we'll be spending, the real use will be you sitting there, all right? You're sitting there, and because you're interested in agricultural technology, every cool agricultural business in the world, after going through Dacxi's system, will be shown to you, and you'll be able to buy it on your phone, sitting on your beach house, and you'll know wherever you are in the world, you'll be able to fund it because it'll go through Dacxi's system. You'll be able to invest in Daccoin. You'll be able to buy in Daccoin. You'll be able to sell in Daccoin and get it back. And you may throw some money at Korea because you understand rice irrigation.
Or whatever.
Or whatever. And you know that system, they would have had to go through a rules which, you know, if the price can't go up by 10 times, we're not interested. We're not going to crowdfund a cafe.
No, thanks for that answer, Ed. That was very, very clear and informative. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's you know, that's why we put it out in blue papers. I've actually recorded the videos, which will hopefully go out tomorrow, just explaining more about the Daccoin. For us, it's a matter of, you know, for us, it's a matter of, we want to be as transparent as possible. We don't want to tell too many secrets, though. People spend the life, but I do want people to understand that that's where the value comes from.
Yeah,
and things are going really well. So, Joel, are there any other questions?
I've got a question. How do you go about getting a bundle? You spoke about a bundle is far better than buying a big Bitcoin.
Oh, look, we've made it, you know, we're proud of what we're doing because we've made it the simplest process that you can do. In reality, if you want to buy different crypto coins on platforms, you've got to go through a process of you buy some of that and some of that and some of that. And so we've simplified it. So all you got to do is say how much money you want to use to purchase. So you just literally, someone will send you a link, and you just go onto the order page and just go, okay, I want to spend $1,000 and buy the bundle, and that will buy you. What will happen is that in your account is that you'll end up with 50% Bitcoin and 20% Ethereum and 10% Litecoin, and then 20% Daccoin, plus you get another 10% of Daccoin. So it's all made as simple as possible. We assume this. We assume that you don't want to know too much about crypto, okay? And yeah, and that's the logic. You just want to buy the product that has that makes the most sense, that has the least risk with the highest upside. Everyone knows that a portfolio of blue chips has the least risk, okay? And what's unusual about it is, in this case, it actually has greater upside than just being able to buy Bitcoin. Okay. Irene's just asked a question. Litecoin has not gone up in value. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I also don't know why Litecoin rocketed in value last time. The fact is that they coins become of interest. You know, there's a whole lot. What people don't see is there's a whole ecosystem of information that I'm tapped into, which is very technical crypto stuff. Do you know what I mean? And as they upgrade, it's like Ethereum at the moment. There's a major upgrade around what's called Ethereum 2.0, and a next version of Ethereum that will be has much larger capability to handle dramatically more transactions. So, you know, the more confidence the technical market has in that, the more they buy it. Once that's gone in, the price, you know, so the price goes a little bit like this. Okay. But, you know, you want to own some Litecoin between you and me. Okay. I own, you know, the bundle concept. You've got to, you know, the more you understand it, the more, you know, you should do it. But cool, guys. Is there anything else other than that? Fantastic. Look, it's been a pleasure. I hope you sort of understand that, and whether you're watching this live or watching the video. Look, guys, now's the time that you need to just load up. You need to go all in. I just keep telling people you need to go all in, all in. I'm not going to, you know, you need to go all in. Okay. And I don't want to say I told you so, but, you know, I'm getting sick of doing that. Everything is going well in this space. The market will fluctuate. It may go down and up and all this sort of stuff. That you're buying a trend. You're putting this away for a year or two, and because you're part of Dacxi, we'll keep you in touch with what's happening. So other than that, Squid, can I pass over to you? Thanks a lot.
Well done, Ed. Thank you very much for the presentation. Some of those answers after your presentation was actually really, really good. I think a lot of people have a better understanding of where the Dacxi exchange actually sits in the world of cryptocurrency exchanges. So, I mean, that's why I got involved 2.5 years ago, and that's why I'm more excited now than I was back then, because I see a bigger picture and a bigger potential for the Dacxi exchange and for the Daccoin, I might add as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we go over the next few weeks after the halving, and I know a lot of people here will consider going all in a lot more because of what they've learned tonight. So I'm looking forward to future events, and I know that you'll be doing some more presentations that I will, and we've got Catherine over in the UK doing some great events as well. All those events, for everyone wants to know, is on events.dacxi.com. So go on there, either register for the event or keep the links and the passwords and log in at the appropriate time. If you're watching this recording, please reach out to the person that introduced you to Dacxi. Ask them about where the learning environments are for you to learn. Go to the Dacxi Facebook pages and like them and follow them. Get the information from there, and make sure that you learn more about Dacxi. And look, from tonight, you can see that the picture of what we're painting is enormous. The space is very big, and there's no one swimming in our pool. And that's really important to understand that. What we're setting up with Dacxi, what Ed has thought about and told me about back in August of 17, even now, no one is swimming in this pool. We are on our own, and this market will plateau out. And we're not talking about that too much now because the growth of the traditional cryptos is too good, but it will plateau out. And you will not be buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum then. What are people going to do? So they are going to flood the Dacxi ecosystem because you guys are involved, and a lot of your family and friends are going to get involved over the next 12 months. And when they do flood in, what coin do they want to buy? Won't be Bitcoin. It'll be Daccoin, because through the Daccoin, you can buy into the crowd finance opportunities. So if you've got it, happy. If you want more, you better get shaken and use the affiliate program if you don't have any money, because that's a very good opportunity now while we are doubling the affiliate commissions until we launch later this year. So thank you very much for joining. Reach out to the person to introduce you. Look forward to seeing you on a webinar into the future. Thanks for your time, Ed. I know it's a bit late, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. and we'll do it all again. Thanks a lot, guys. Good night, everyone.